Cota just
slowly worked
got
his way up.
interesting.
Obviously, these guys
Really
are a little
interesting.
quicker. You gotta look
Honestly,
here
I don't know
see
where to
Harrison Burton a
begin
little
because this weekend at Circuit of the Americas went from "this looks promising" to "wait, are we actually watching history being made?" in the blink of an eye. And the wild thing? We're not dealing with just one big story here. We've got two massive storylines playing out at the same track, same weekend, two different series, two completely different plots, yet somehow they both feel like chapters in the same book about where NASCAR is heading right now. One of them could totally flip the road course conversation on its head in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. The other one is literally knocking on the door of the record books in the Cup series. If you're a proper NASCAR fan, the kind who gets a little too emotionally invested in qualifying laps, loves a last-second dive bomb into a late braking zone, and lives for the tension when two elite drivers go door-to-door, then this weekend was made for you. Story 1. The kid is putting on a show. Let's kick things off with what went down in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts series, because the front row for the Focused Health 250 at Cota is absolutely mouthwatering for road course lovers. Connor Zeilish, and at this point, if you're sleeping on this kid, wake up, laid down a qualifying lap that wasn't just fast, it was a statement. Driving the number 1 Chevrolet for JR Motorsports, he clocked a 137.740 on the 2.24-mile layout. That effort landed him his 10th career pole in the series, his 10th. And here's the part that'll make your jaw drop. He just turned 19 years old, and this came in only his 37th career start. Let that number roll around in your head for a second. 10 poles and 37 starts at 19 years of age? That's not beginner's luck. That's a pattern. Oh, and he won this exact race last year. So we're talking about a defending champion sitting on pole at a track he's already conquered. That's the kind of thing that makes rival crews a little nervous on Saturday morning. But here's where it gets spicy. Parked right next to Zeilish on the front row? Shane Van Gisbergen. SVG was just over 2/10 behind in qualifying, which sounds close, and it is. But more importantly, it sets up what could be an absolute road course duel between two teammates from Trackhouse Racing in the Cup Series, both wheeling Chevrolets for JR Motorsports in this event. The dynamic of teammates going at it on a technical road course adds a whole extra layer of drama. Think about what that first braking zone into Turn 1 at Cota looks like with these two launching off the front row together. That corner has seen some chaos over the years, even with average drivers. These two are anything but average. Buckle up. Behind them, Austin Hill, the guy who kicked off his season with a win at Daytona, lines up third. Brandon Jones put together a genuinely impressive fourth-place qualifying run, and then you've got Justin Allgaier, Carson Kvapil, Brent Cruz, Sam Mayer, last week's winner Sheldon Creed, and Sammy Smith filling out the top 10. There's real depth in this field, no question. Worth mentioning, Sam Mayer was the quickest in the lone practice session of the weekend, with Sheldon Creed right behind him. So the race pace conversation is a little different from the qualifying conversation, which makes predicting the outcome even trickier. Not everything was smooth sailing, though. Austin Hill, the other Austin Hill, the number 21 Richard Childress Racing guy, because yes, NASCAR apparently enjoys confusing us, suffered a mechanical failure in practice and never even turned a qualifying lap. Fortunately, he had enough owner points to make the field and will roll off from 38th. Tough spot, but at least he gets to race. Less lucky were Josh Williams in the number 92 DGM Racing Chevrolet and Tyler Gonzalez in the number 5 Hattori Racing Ford, who both failed to qualify. There were 40 cars entered and only 38 spots available, which means two teams made the trip all the way to Austin, Texas, unloaded their gear, prepped their cars for a road course weekend, and didn't even get to take the green flag. That's a gut punch. It's one of the harsher realities of this series when the entry list fills up, but it never gets any easier to watch. The big picture on Zeilish? He's not just fast anymore, he's becoming a problem on road courses. And putting him alongside Van Gisbergen, who might be the most naturally gifted road racer in the entire Cup garage, is creating a rivalry that has the potential to define this season in the Xfinity ranks. If Zelish goes back-to-back at Cota, that's not just a stat, that's genuine momentum heading into the rest of the year. Story 2. History is one race away now. Here's where things shift from really exciting to genuinely historic. Because in Sunday's Cup race, Shane van Gisbergen isn't just chasing a trophy, he's chasing a place in the record books. If SVG wins at Circuit of the Americas on Sunday, he ties Jeff Gordon for the longest consecutive road course winning streak in Cup Series history, 6 in a row, 6. Let's recap how we got here, because the numbers are almost absurd. He closed out last season by winning the final 5 road course races. It started at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, NASCAR's first venture south of the border, where he didn't just win, he demolished the field. The margin of victory? 16.5 seconds in a cup race on a road course against the best drivers in the world. Then came Watkins Glen, won by 11.1 seconds. Then the Charlotte Roval, won by 15.1 seconds. 3 of those victories last year featured the biggest winning margins on road courses since 1996. This wasn't racing. This was a masterclass on repeat. When you look at the full 2025 road course picture, the stats get even more staggering. SVG racked up 293 points on road courses alone, an average of 48.8 per race. Christopher Bell, who was the next best in that category, trailed him by 73 points. In 6 road course races as a rookie in the Cup Series, Van Gisbergen led 52% of all laps, ran inside the top 5 85% of the time, and spent a mere 5% of his 579 laps outside the top 10. 5%. You genuinely don't see numbers like that, ever. That's not a hot streak. That's a different level of talent. But, and there's always a but, Cota has been the one track that's refused to cooperate with him. In his 2024 Cup start there, he got caught speeding on pit road during Stage 2 and limped home to a 20th place finish. Last year, in the shortened configuration race, he led 23 laps and still ended up 6th. He even had a wild moment in his only O'Reilly Series start at Cota back in 2024, where he battled Kyle Larson, had a late showdown with Austin Hill, cut the course on the final lap, and ended up with a credited 27th place finish. He's had the speed every single time. He just hasn't been able to put a clean, complete race together there. Cota is the splinter in his finger. This Sunday marks his 53rd Cup start, and if he can pull it off, he'd be the quickest driver in the modern era to reach 7 Cup wins. He'd also tie Chase Elliott for the most road course wins among active Cup drivers. When Kevin Harvick brought all of this up to him in an interview, you could tell SVG knows exactly what's at stake, and that he genuinely wants it. He even said it'd be pretty cool, which, in racing driver terms, basically means he's been thinking about it every day. There's also a bigger team story here. Last year, Trackhouse Racing was still finding its feet early in the season, figuring out pieces and processes. This year, they look more settled, more organized, and frankly, more dangerous. The pieces are in place. Whether Cota cooperates is another matter entirely. So, what does this all mean? Here's the simple version. Saturday, we could see a Zelish versus Van Gisbergen war in the O'Reilly Series. 2 elite road racers, same front row, same team affiliation, same hunger. Sunday, we could see history made in the Cup Series, or we could see Cota remain SVG's one unsolved puzzle. If Zelish goes back-to-back, he firmly plants his flag as the next face of road racing in NASCAR's developmental ranks. A teenager, already a 2-time Cota winner, with a rival who happens to be one of the greatest road racers on the planet. That's a story worth following all season long. If Van Gisbergen wins on Sunday, this isn't just a hot streak we're talking about anymore. We're talking about a driver actively rewriting NASCAR's road course record books in real time, faster than almost anyone thought possible. That's a conversation that extends well beyond this one weekend. And that right there is why Cota gets circled on the calendar every year. This weekend has the potential to give us moments that fans will still be talking about years from now. Can't wait to watch it unfold. VG called road courses a holiday. His results suggest he wasn't joking. Shane Van Gisbergen recently looked every other NASCAR Cup Series driver dead in the eyes, metaphorically speaking, and told them that racing on road courses feels like a vacation. And honestly, after watching what this man has done over the past year, it's pretty hard to argue with him. The New Zealand star rolls into Sunday's race at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, as the overwhelming favorite. And we're not talking about a slight edge here. We're talking about the kind of betting odds where the sportsbooks are essentially saying he has nearly a 50% chance of beating the entire field by himself, just him versus everybody else, and the math still leans his way. That's not a favorite. That's a phenomenon. But first, the ovals. To really appreciate where SVG stands right now, you've got to rewind a little. Last weekend at Atlanta, he crossed the line in 6th place. On the surface, that might not sound like much, but context matters here, because ovals have been the one genuine weakness in Van Gisbergen's NASCAR game since he arrived. He's a 3-time Supercars champion back home in New Zealand, but stock car oval racing is a completely different animal. When he first showed up, the whole paddock was asking the same question. Can this guy figure out the ovals? For most of last season, the honest answer was, not really. Stage points on ovals were hard to come by, and running near the front on those tracks just wasn't happening consistently. This year, though, something has clearly clicked. He ran well at Daytona to open the season, and then Atlanta handed him his best oval finish to date, 6th place. Oh, and he spun out twice during that race and still salvaged a top 10 result. That little detail tells you everything about where his head is at right now. After the race, SVG was measured but clearly encouraged. He talked about the big gains his team has been making on ovals, pointing out that scoring stage points was nearly impossible last year but is now becoming routine. Very promising, he said, and you believed him. But then came the line that really got people talking. These road courses, he said, we just go and have fun. They are like a holiday for us. We just go and enjoy ourselves and hopefully come away with a lot of points and a great result. A holiday, that's the word he used, while every other driver in the garage is running simulations, losing sleep, and trying to crack the code on how to beat this guy, SVG is out here describing road courses like a long weekend at the beach. That level of calm confidence doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from being genuinely, consistently, embarrassingly dominant. 5 straight. Let that sink in. The results aren't lying. Over the past year, Van Gisbergen has won 5 consecutive road course races in the Cup Series. 5 in a row. Mexico City, the Chicago Street Race, Sonoma, where he led 88% of the laps, which is barely even fair, Watkins Glen, and the Charlotte Roval. At several of those venues, he didn't just edge out the competition. He controlled entire races from the front while everyone else scrapped over second place. It was almost unfair to watch. If he wins at Cota on Sunday, he ties Jeff Gordon's record of 6 straight road course victories, a streak Gordon put together between 1997 and 2000. That would plant SVG's name right alongside Gordon, Chase Elliott, and Tony Stewart in the all-time road course conversation. That's legendary territory, full stop. The one that got away until Saturday. Here's the juicy twist that made this weekend extra compelling. Cota was actually the one road course on the calendar that SVG had never won at. Not for lack of trying, mind you. In 2024, he crossed the line 20th after getting caught speeding on pit road. Last year, on the new shorter layout, he led plenty of laps and still ended up 6th. And in a lower series race back in 2024, he was leading heading into overtime before a track limits penalty sent him tumbling to 27th. 3 visits, 0 wins. The track had his number. He even admitted it openly. I've always been fast here but never managed to win. Well, past tense, as of Saturday. In the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race, SVG rewrote that story in the most Van Gisbergen way imaginable. He restarted 6th with just 5 laps remaining, spotted the leaders a gap into turn 1, made a breathtaking 4-wide pass, and went from 6th to 1st in a single corner. The leaders got squeezed wide, SVG threaded the needle, and that was that. He won by nearly 0.8 of a second over Austin Hill. Afterwards, he was all grins, cracking jokes about how he may have sucked the number 41 in and he took everyone out for me. Vintage SVG. That victory was his 5th in the O'Reilly Series, his 11th road course win across NASCAR's top 2 levels, and, most importantly, his first win at Cota in any NASCAR division. The monkey is officially off his back. He heads into Sunday's Cup race with all the momentum in the world and, apparently, a very relaxed holiday mindset. The track itself has changed, and SVG likes it. There's another factor worth mentioning. NASCAR switched to a shorter Cota layout starting in 2025, down from the old 20-turn, 3.4-mile configuration to a tighter 17-turn, 2.4-mile circuit. Faster lap times, more laps in the race, and crucially, more opportunities to pass. SVG is a fan of the change, noting that it lets drivers use the better parts of the track more frequently and opened up an additional passing zone off the back straight. More passing zones mean more moments for an aggressive, instinctive racer like SVG to make something happen, and nobody in NASCAR makes things happen on road courses quite like him. The odds, the competition, and what Sunday really looks like. At most sportsbooks, SVG is sitting around plus 110 to plus 120, meaning if you bet $100 on him and he wins, you're walking away with roughly $120 in profit. That's how razor-thin the odds makers think this really is. His teammate Connor Zilisch is listed as the second favorite at around POI 350 to POI 450. After those two, there's a significant gap before you reach anyone else. Christopher Bell, who won this race last year, is hovering around plus 1,100. Tyler Reddick, who has won both Cup races so far in 2026 and is chasing something that's literally never been done before, winning the first 3 races of a season, sits around 0.500. Even with those credentials, neither man is considered close to SVG's level on this track this weekend. That gap between SVG and the rest of the field is reportedly the widest of any race all season. Bell is worth keeping an eye on despite his rough start to 2026. A 35th at Daytona and a 21st at Atlanta aren't exactly confidence builders, and he's gone 5 straight starts without a top 5. Zilisch had a nightmare Saturday, dropping to 21st after brake trouble and a late race hit from Corey Day. Still, on his day, the kid has genuine road course talent. Even Michael McDowell, a veteran who knows this series inside out, acknowledged the reality of the situation. There's no doubt he's the very best, on top of his game, McDowell said, then added, with just a hint of hope, but he's beatable. Maybe. Theoretically. At some point, presumably. SVG starts 13th on Sunday's grid, with every previous Cota winner starting ahead of him. Reddick and Chastain share the front row. Bell is 8th, Elliott 5th, Byron 10th. But starting position has meant almost nothing to Van Gisbergen on road courses. He finds the front regardless of where his name appears on the grid sheet. The race runs 95 laps on the 2.4-mile layout and airs live on Fox at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, one of the last big network broadcasts for a while before most upcoming events shift to Fox Sports 1. Worth tuning in for that reason alone, honestly. The bigger picture. What makes this moment genuinely significant is that SVG is no longer just a road course specialist with a question mark hanging over the ovals. He's rounding into a complete NASCAR driver. The oval improvements are real and measurable. The road course dominance hasn't budged an inch. He's got Saturday's win in his back pocket, the record books within arm's reach, and a track that just handed him his first ever Cota victory. The rest of the Cup garage knows exactly what's coming Sunday afternoon. The question isn't really whether SVG will be fast. It never is anymore. The question is whether anyone can find a way to stop him. And right now, nobody seems to have a convincing answer. Thank you guys. See you next video.